The date is April 1st, 1990, and WrestleMania 6 is taking place at the Skydome in Toronto, with over 67,000 fans in attendance. The stadium is electric, a sea of faces illuminated by flashing lights and the glow of anticipation. The unmistakable sight of a 6'7", 330-pound mountain of a man suddenly emerges, and Big Boss Man strides down the aisle, his blue uniform crisp, his mirrored sunglasses reflecting the crowd's mix of fear and admiration. He carries himself with the authority of a man who's used to commanding respect and getting it. As he climbs into the ring to face his opponent, Akeem, there's no doubt in anyone's mind, this is a performer at the height of his powers. The bell rings, and Big Boss Man demonstrates why he's become one of the WWF's most formidable stars. His combination of size, agility, and raw power is on full display. He throws Akeem around like a rag doll, his signature moves executed with brutal efficiency. Each impact echoes through the arena, but it's more than just his physical presence that makes Big Boss Man a star. It's the way he embodies his character. Every insult, every taunt, every moment of brutality reinforces his persona. He's not just playing a role, he is the Big Boss Man. As he stands victorious over Akeem, arms raised in triumph, Big Boss Man is at the pinnacle of his career. He's a key player in the WWF's golden age, a time when larger-than-life characters captured the imagination of millions. His feud with Hulk Hogan is fresh in everyone's minds, and his future seems limitless. But how did Ray Traylor, a boy from Marietta, Georgia, become this wrestling icon? To understand the Big Boss Man, we need to go back to the beginning. Born on May 2nd, 1963, Ray Washington Traylor grew up in a world far removed from the glitz and glamour of professional wrestling. Marietta in the 1960s and 70s was a place of transition, caught between its small-town roots and the growing influence of nearby Atlanta. For young Ray, it was a place of opportunity and challenge. From an early age, Traylor stood out, quite literally. By his teens, he was already well over 6 feet tall and built like a linebacker. His size made him a natural athlete, but it was his work ethic that truly set him apart. Friends and family recall a young man who was always pushing himself, always striving to be better. This drive led Traylor to pursue a career in law enforcement. After graduating high school, he joined the Cobb County Sheriff's Department. It was here, working as a corrections officer, that the seeds of his future wrestling persona were planted. The experience gave him a first-hand look at the harsh realities of the criminal justice system, an understanding that would later lend authenticity to his in-ring character. But Traylor's ambitions extended beyond the prison walls. He had always been a fan of professional wrestling, and his imposing physique seemed tailor-made for the sport. In 1986, at the age of 23, he decided to take a leap of faith and pursue his dream. Traylor's entry into professional wrestling came through Jim Crockett Promotions. Initially performing under his real name, Traylor quickly made an impression with his raw power and surprising agility for a man of his size. But it was when he adopted the persona of Big Bubba Rogers that he truly began to shine. As Big Bubba, Traylor became an intimidating heel, engaging in high-profile feuds with some of the biggest names of the era, including Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors. His performances caught the eye of wrestling promoters across the country, including none other than Vince McMahon. In 1988, Traylor made the jump to the World Wrestling Federation, and it was here that he would become a legend. McMahon, always with an eye for characters that could capture the public's imagination, saw something special in Traylor. Together, they crafted the persona that would define Traylor's career, the Big Boss Man. This character was a stroke of genius. Drawing on Traylor's real-life experience as a corrections officer, the Big Boss Man was portrayed as a sadistic prison guard who had entered professional wrestling to inflict punishment on a grander scale. A hard-hitting, no-nonsense enforcer who took pleasure in doling out his own brand of justice. Aligned with the nefarious Slick as his manager, Big Boss Man immediately established himself as a force to be reckoned with. His first major feud was with Hulk Hogan, the biggest star in professional wrestling at the time. This wasn't just a baptism by fire. It was a clear signal that the WWF saw big things in Big Boss Man's future. The feud with Hogan showcased all of Big Boss Man's strengths. His impressive physical presence made him a credible threat to the seemingly invincible Hulkster, but it was his character work that truly set him apart. Big Boss Man brought an intensity and believability to his role that was rare even in the iconic era of 1980s wrestling. As his character evolved, so did his role in the WWF. He formed a tag team with Akeem, known as the Twin Towers, and this duo soon became embroiled in a high-stakes rivalry with the formidable alliance of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, known as the Mega Powers. At WrestleMania 5, the Twin Towers' decisive victory over the Rockers catalyzed their ascent in the tag team hierarchy, precipitating a protracted and intense struggle with the reigning champions, Demolition, throughout the spring and early summer of 1989, a rivalry that showcased the evolving dynamics of tag team wrestling. Meanwhile, Bossman's rivalry with Hogan reached its zenith in a series of grueling steel cage matches, culminating in a particularly memorable confrontation during the 21st edition of Saturday Night's Main Event, where Hogan's championship hung in the balance, a spectacle that epitomized the era's penchant for high-stakes, physically demanding encounters. One of the most significant developments of Big Boss Man's career unfolded during the February 24, 1990 episode of Superstars, where he underwent a face turn. The spark for this transformation was a Machiavellian scheme orchestrated by the $1 Million Man, who had enlisted Slick to commission Bossman's services in recovering the stolen $1 Million Championship belt from Jake Roberts. In a twist of fate, Bossman's retrieval mission yielded not only the coveted belt, but also Roberts' serpentine companion Damien. The saga played out on the Brother Love show, where Bossman, in a display of newfound integrity, spurned DiBiase's financial overtures and returned the bag, contents intact, to a grateful Roberts. This act of principle not only endeared Bossman to the audience, but also set the stage for a compelling character evolution, demonstrating the nuanced storytelling that defined the era's most engaging narratives. His WrestleMania 6 victory over former partner Akeem was just one highlight in a career filled with memorable moments. He reconciled with Hogan and appeared in his corner during the match against Earthquake at SummerSlam 1990. The once-hated villain became a fan favorite, his character reforming and standing up against his former allies. This transition showcased Trailer's versatility as a performer. He maintained the tough, no-nonsense aspects of his character while adding dimensions of honor and justice. He soon entered into a heated rivalry with Bobby Heenan and his eponymous faction, sparked by Heenan's relentless insults towards Bossman's mother. This conflict culminated in a series of victories for Bossman against Heenan family members throughout 1991, including notable triumphs over the Barbarian at the Royal Rumble and a disqualification win against Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 7 in an Intercontinental Championship match that saw Andre the Giant's surprise return. Next came SummerSlam, where Bossman emerged victorious in the WWF's first and only jailhouse match against the Mountie, a contest designed to determine the promotion's true law enforcer, with the loser sentenced to spend a night behind bars. Big Boss Man then found himself feuding with his former ally Nails. This beef allowed Big Boss Man to delve deeper into his backstory, defending his real-life career in law enforcement against Nails' accusations of corruption and brutality. It was a storyline that blurred the lines between reality and fiction, a hallmark of the best wrestling angles. In 1993, Trailer transitioned to World Championship Wrestling, debuting as The Boss on the December 18th episode of WCW Saturday Night. He made a strong impression by pinning the International World Champion Rick Rude in a non-title match. As a face, he earned a title shot against Rude at Starrcade, but ultimately lost the match. Due to legal complaints from the WWF about the similarity of The Boss to Big Boss Man, Trailer was eventually renamed the Guardian Angel. In early 1995, he turned heel and was once again known as Big Bubba Rogers. 3 years later, after his WCW release in 1998, Trailer decided to rejoin the WWF, re-adopting the persona of Big Boss Man, but he updated his look, trading in his classic blue uniform for SWAT-style attire. His character became darker, more in line with the edgier tone of WWF programming. In this new iteration, Big Boss Man became a key member of Vince McMahon's corporation stable. This role allowed him to return to his heel roots while showcasing his ability to work with a new generation of stars. His feuds with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and The Undertaker demonstrated that even after a decade in the WWF, Big Boss Man could still hang with the best in the business. He quickly found himself at the center of some of the era's most significant bouts, including the notorious Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 15. This period also saw Big Boss Man involved in some of the most outlandish and memorable storylines of the early 1990s. Who could forget his feud with The Big Show, which culminated in Boss Man crashing Big Show's father's funeral and stealing the casket, or his Kennel from Hell match against Al Snow, which involved a ring surrounded by dog cages. While these storylines were controversial, they demonstrated the Federation's faith in Big Boss Man's ability to handle high-profile, attention-grabbing storylines. But all careers, no matter how stellar, must eventually come to an end. By the early 2000s, the wear and tear of a life in professional wrestling began to take its toll on Ray Traylor. And then, in May 2002, Traylor collided with a deer while riding his Harley-Davidson, resulting in severe injuries that necessitated a year-long recovery period. Following this incident, WWE removed him from the main roster and then released him the following year. This challenging time was further compounded by the passing of his close confidant, Curt Hennig, a loss that deeply affected Traylor both personally and professionally. The next year, on September 22, 2004, Traylor and his family were visiting his sister. While his two daughters went upstairs to play, his wife Angela briefly left the room around 10 p.m. When she returned, she found him lifeless on the sofa. At just 41 years old, Traylor had died of a massive heart attack. The untimely demise of Curt Hennig, attributed to a lethal combination of cocaine, steroids, and painkillers, inevitably casts a shadow over the broader context of professional wrestling's often unspoken struggles with substance use. Given Traylor's close association with Hennig and his own premature passing, it's prudent to consider whether similar lifestyle choices may have played a role in his fate. While speculation should be approached with caution, these inquiries, though sensitive, are essential in understanding the full narrative of wrestlers' lives beyond the ring and the potential systemic issues within the industry. In the years since his passing, Big Boss Man's legacy has only grown. In 2016, he was posthumously inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. From an unknown corrections officer to the grand stage of WrestleMania, Ray Traylor's journey as Big Boss Man is a testament to the enduring appeal of professional wrestling at its best. In the grand pantheon of wrestling legends, Big Boss Man stands tall, his legacy secure, his impact unforgotten. May he rest in peace.